point at how your professional being is, which I like to also for myself separate those things, you know?
Well, okay, but for me, like, just so you know, I don't really separate professional and personal anymore after what 7 years running my own business, and to me, it's all kind of merged. You know, as an advisor, as a consultant, over these years, I really have not had a difference between personal and professional. Maybe it's a bad thing. Hello, Lars. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, I definitely do recommend trying to set up that difference because, you know, sometimes things that happen and go wrong in a professional environment that don't necessarily mean that things are going wrong in your personal environment. Maybe, you know, a bad work day should not affect how your self-esteem goes, right? Unless we're talking about professional self-esteem, then maybe that's a signal for growth. But that doesn't mean that suddenly, because you had a bad work day, that you're a sociopath as a person, right? That those things should not go hand in hand. I'm just making extremist examples to show the contrast, right? Not that they're applicable or anything. And in that way, like the separation is sometimes also important because I've learned a lot from myself through trying to, you know, also grow through 7 years of launching startups, dealing with startups and making my own clients and things like that, that if I get, you know, too personally involved with my professional self, I am just not as efficient in improving or doing the work because I cannot separate my personal feelings with objective feelings that are sometimes required to deal with things that are happening in a professional world. Like if a client would say, oh, I don't want to work with you anymore because we're on a budget cost, for example, similar with what happened with Logos, that does not necessarily mean I'm a bad person because of my client saying, oh, I don't want to work with you anymore.
So you were not full-time employed by Logos, is that correct?
I was.
Okay, so they hired you, but not like as say core like team, you know, member. They hired you as a consultant, let's say. You know what I
No,
mean?
it was part of the core team, but everybody is a freelancer in Logos,
Oh, really?
technically.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
It's just a nice way for companies to like defend themselves legally by hiring everyone as contractors instead of
Very
employees.
Yeah.
interesting. I
And also as
see.
for tax purposes, because how are you going to deal with remote workers from all over the world if you need to put them on a payroll? That means that you would need to deal with 50 different governments just to figure out how to pay the correct taxes.
Right. Understand.
So
Yeah.
it's a bit of both, like definitely their own self-defense, but most of the time in court, that probably would not keep up if you would push them to court and prove like, hey, I had all these full-time responsibilities. I had a manager. I could not hire people myself, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So it would not keep up in court. But at the same time, it was also just sometimes easier to deal with taxes by being freelancer and being able to hire everyone over the world with a service agreement because they're freelancers in their own in their own thing and deal with their own taxes.
And that was your plan with Hacker Hotel when you would have registered it?
What do you mean?
To have people join as freelancers for the project?
I didn't think that far yet
Okay, got
because
it.
again,
Yeah.
there's currently no part at all that involves hiring people, especially not while we still need to figure out how to break even on this thing. So just hiring more people, it's kind of a VC mentality when you have a couple million to throw around to try to solve the problem. But that doesn't really work when you're bootstrapping.
I see. I see, I see, I see. So, with the way that I came into this group, I was told that it's possible to get whatever, you know, amount that we agree on as an exchange for, you know, the type of service I provide. If I bring in partners, you know, who will be able to sponsor the event. So that's the reason why I got deeper into the partnerships with Migle. And I
I mean,
saw the amount of like actual partners list that she created was very small. Like I usually work with like 500 lists, you know, like of 500s, and then like narrow it down deeply, and then from there I would work up into okay, what kind of presentations these people would want to see. So after creating a list, I knowing their branding, knowing their kind of like vibes, let's say, I felt strongly that our current branding wasn't something I would be able to stand by to send to them. You see, so that's how I got into the design part of it.
I mean, I definitely see your reasoning, but you do. I hope you also see, from our initial conversations where I did mention that that was an avenue to earn, direct cash from what we were doing. That only that would be paid out after the event happened and after the initial costs were paid as well.
No, it wasn't clear for me.
I specified that a couple of times, and I remember also how eventually you kind of were annoyed about that specific way. I think you communicated that also with us, because at any point I did mention, and especially before you joined as well, that this could end up in us earning money, but that is only after we had paid the costs for the hotel itself, had set a certain part for the next edition aside, and after that to divide the potential profit under the people who worked on it, depending on what they committed to.
But which is that hope that I had. You see, that potential profit is the hope that motivated me to, get a designer to work on this. You see.
But I see that, and there's no wrong in hope of making that profit. There is wrong in setting up specific numbers and demands to receive when the numbers is still to be determined and is a variable that is not set yet.
Totally, and I just wanted to be clear with my expectations. Again, as a consultant, these are the numbers I'm really used to, making. Again, I'm 33, you guys. Like I've been around in terms of creating wealth for myself, and I expect certain number for the hour of my work for a reason that's kind of the number I've been working towards, and received over the past years. So going lower in this number feels unaligned. You understand, right? Like because
I get
you
you.
work
Like,
towards it.
I feel you. Like from my past 2-3 clients, I get an average between 70 and 100 euro per hour. So I get you that sometimes it might feel like you're having a setback when that reality that you're used to might not become an immediate reality. But that was also never the reality I promised.
Yeah, and that's what I've been working towards. Again, motivated to get the sponsors who would be able to actually make this a reality for me and you guys as well. If you wanted, again, I came from a solution-based perspective and not saying like, yeah, like just like take the money out of the air and give it to me. Like I was acting, and then again, knowing the presentation and the kind of people that we were going to reach, I felt that it was impossible. Like it was just not possible to get such big amounts that were asked on that deck, and that's why I was thinking to redesign the deck first and kind of re-clarify things, which resulted in maybe shifting the concept a little bit in terms of adapting to what these people are actually interested in right now, which are conscious events, like which are events that are bringing a little bit more of connection and authenticity and a little bit more space holding and a little bit more even like, I'm not afraid of this word, spiritual type of experiences, which are missing right now from this community. And that was my dream to being engaged in creating such an event for our community. And that's kind of the direction I was starting to really pull it. And I guess it wasn't something that you guys wanted.
I mean, I admire those hopes and dreams, and I think they're very noble to pursue. Definitely. It's not necessarily even only because even if there were some disagreements, and I think they were on exactly what direction you were taking, it's also more on the miscommunication in enforcing this way of this direction should go.
Forcing is my natural way of communications. Again, it's
And
your
I understand.
it's your kind of like responsibility to show it to me early, and you guys actually did with the feedback session, to help me not be so forceful. Because again, it's my natural way. I'm a New Yorker. We force things. I'm very, very tough in our way of communicating and professional way. Like I take it to personal as well. This is like my culture, and you kind of like removing me. That's how I feel. You're kind of removing me from my authentic culture of communications.
That's also what I meant
Yeah.
with, there's no personal problems that we have, and also how Lazara explained, it's just we have different ways of working that seem to be clashing.
Well, and you don't feel that it's possible to find a middle ground, like, again, I'm asking for it now, like, this is very vulnerable, but do you think it's possible to find some middle ground, some type of way of collaboration, or you guys made the decision strongly?
I'm just